This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Welcome back to Uncomplicated. Today, we're talking about one of the most misunderstood marketing tools out there, writing a book, not to sell copies, not to become a bestseller, but to attract the right clients. My guest today is Henry DeVries, publisher and editor-in-chief of Indie Books International, host of Agency Rainmaker TV, contributor to Forbes, and the ghostwriter editor behind more than 200 business books, including a McGraw-Hill International bestseller. Henry works with agency owners and entrepreneurs who want to use a book as a client attraction strategy, not a vanity project. Today, we're unpacking why a book may be your most powerful marketing asset, who actually needs one and who doesn't, the 3 ways to write the right book, and why publishing is just the starting line. Henry, welcome to Uncomplicated. We're so happy to have you here.
Sasha, I'm so happy to be here. And you and I like bumper stickers. If I had a bumper sticker for this, it would be human brains are hardwired for stories.
I love that. I may have to get that on a sticker and stick it on my bumper.
There you go.
So, Henry, let's start here. What is the number one marketing tool and the number one marketing strategy?
Sure. The number one marketing tool for somebody who is in the business of expertise, it's their expertise that people are buying, is a book. It positions them as an authority expert. Authority experts don't chase business. Business finds them. It's attracted to them. And I say you can't spell the word authority without the word author.
Yeah.
Authors are the experts. And if you say you're an expert and people say, well, where's your book? That's a judgment. It's like, if you're so good, where's your book? And I also think authorities are not one and done when it comes to a book. An authority can't say everything they have to say in one book. So I see books in people's future.
I love that because just, coming close to publishing my own, I definitely feel that, if anybody has ever had a desire or, an inclination to want to write a book, even though, it can take a little bit longer, than expected. I think it's definitely something to do. But why is a book stronger than ads, funnels, or even social media? I mean, based on what we're talking about and creating that baseline to authority, what is beyond that?
Well, there's this magical thing. And to complete that other thought, the number one strategy is talking about the book. So the world gives an author a free pass. The media will write about it. Podcasters will put you on their show. Meeting event planners will book you on stage because you're the author of a book. It's the only marketing tool I know that is a self-liquidating promotion. In other words, it costs you money to do a book. You get money back with people paying you to buy the book, to hire you to speak about the book, or also consulting, training, because you're the person who wrote the book. So we've measured a 4x to 20x ROI, and we've documented that for people who write the book and then do the right steps after the book comes out.
Yeah. And is it almost like, would you say, if somebody went to an Ivy League school versus not?
Well, and I didn't go to an Ivy League school for my bachelor's and for my graduate degree, my MBA degree, but I went to Harvard Business School for post-degree work. So I'm not going to diss the Ivy League. Why, my son-in-law is a computer researcher, tenured professor at an Ivy League school. That's great. Having that Ivy League credential there helps. It is not as good as saying they're the author of a book.
Yes. No, I love that. Yeah, continue.
And PhD is great, but we've tested it, and author trumps PhD when people are looking at that. There's just something that we know that, and because you went through it, Sasha, the effort it took to do that book made you better. It made you better at what you do. And authors have come to me and said, why didn't you tell me this, that there'd be this side benefit? And I was sort of like Glinda the Good Witch in The Wizard of Oz when Dorothy asked her, "Oh, why didn't you just tell me this to click my heels at the beginning?" She said, "Oh, you wouldn't have believed me." So I said,
Yeah.
authors won't believe me, but they come back to me and say, I'm much better. My game is sharpened because I did this book.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, almost 3.5 years in terms of my journey to get this from writing the manuscript all the way through all the editing phases and a writing coach and all of that. But you are right. I mean, I think just like starting a business, the business becomes a mirror of who you are, how you deal with things, and I think even more so, the book really breaks down so many differences and inner workings or outer workings as it relates to your business, your relationships, just the conducting of life in general. I mean, I think there's so many depths and layers to producing that book.
And I know a lot of people, I mean, if you look at the studies, a lot of people have on their, call it their bucket list or their goal list or whatever, is write a book. But, and there's 40 million books on Amazon.com. A lot of people have
Yeah,
done it. But that's probably 10% of the population uh, who've done a book, and 90% wish they could or wish they should. But it's not easy. I teach there 9 easier ways to write a book than most people do, but it's still there's effort. So
yeah.
brava to you.
I do want to get into those. What did you say? There's 9 easier steps than most people think.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Let's unpack
sure.
it because I think for first time authors, you don't know what you don't know. I think when you step into anything new, you don't know what you don't know. And then all of a sudden you're out on the other side and it's almost, wow, I wish I knew XYZ before going into it, or I would have done this differently. And if you have the opportunity to write a second book, then I think it becomes so much more faster.
Yeah,
Just to get not even just getting to market, but just in terms of how you build it, because it's not your first rodeo.
you built the muscle. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, the first book and the second book I wrote for me took years, and then I've refined a process where in 90 to 120 days we can get a great book done.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how. So I'll tell you how not to do it, and that's seat of the pants to the seat of the chair, blank screen, going and you're just sort of I'm going to channel this book out of you. No, wrong. Not how to do it. A book starts like you're going to build a house. You would hire an architect and you design a house. You would look at other houses and you would tell the architect what you like and what you don't like about that. Then, with the plans, you would assemble all the materials for the people to build the house. Same with a book. I believe in a book blueprint. Um,
Hmm.
you should use architecture to build it. You assemble all the parts, but how? So once you have that blueprint, um, you can be interviewed. I'm a journalist. I interview people all the time and pull the book out of them, transcribe it, polish it. It's in their language and they get a book. Other people, maybe they've refined a half day workshop that they do. That workshop can be turned into a book. Maybe you want to do like Deepak Chopra and get up at 4:30 a.m. every morning and write for 2 hours on your plan. That
Hmm.
works. Um, I've even done what's called the misery approach. It's named after the Stephen King novel and movie, where I've locked myself away for several days and I don't come out till I have a book done. Um, it's taken 3 to 6 days. And by the way, I don't usually use a cabin. I like luxury resorts by the water. I do better there. If
Yeah.
I'm going to lock myself away for a few days, that's where I rather do it.
Yeah.
But that is one way. It's a powering through, because when you think of it, let's say you spent 3 10-hour days, 30 hours. Well, a lot of people try to do this by chipping away with a few hours a week,
Yeah.
and there's no momentum to that. Now you have the plan going into the room, and how do you get a plan? It's one of the easier ways is you hire a developmental editor. A lot of people think of editors as somebody you hire after the book's done, and they make sure you spelled Walmart right and that you had a comma instead of a period. No, a developmental editor is a co-creator, is somebody who helps you create a book. You work together as a team. This goes all the way back to, um, oh no, who wrote the Christmas Carol? Um, Dickens, Charles Dickens. Goes back
Yes,
to Charles
yes.
Dickens. In addition to writing Oliver Twist and A Christmas Carol and David Copperfield, he was a developmental editor who worked with other authors to structure, create, give them feedback on their book, what's working and not working. So a developmental editor is somebody you hire. They're beyond a book coach. I find a book coach is way to go, keep doing, do another chapter. They're it's they check in and all that. A
Is a
developmental editor,
developmental editor, and I don't mean to interrupt you, is
yeah,
it
yeah.
almost like a writing coach? Because the writing coach that I brought on, or my publishers brought on, she really think of it as an interior designer that already comes to a house that you just want to redecorate fully. She went from top to bottom and just redecorated, reshifted, repositioned, re everything to make the book flow better.
That's a great metaphor. Yes, that writing coach is a developmental editor. And I remember
Okay.
when I was growing up, my mom, we didn't have a lot of money, but there was this woman who she hired. She came in to our house and it was like, move this here, move that there, get rid of that. Here, buy this. And for a few $100s, we had this beautiful home. We said, well, it was the knowledge that person had. So you need to bring in
Absolutely.
somebody with the knowledge of what you don't have. You're the subject matter expert. Get in a book expert to help you.
Yeah, I really like that because I think sometimes as an author, especially if you've been writing your manuscript or you've been spending 10 hours a day, 30 hours a week or whatever it is, you tend to not be able to pull yourself away from all of it to really reflect on, how it flows from end to end. But then again, most authors don't necessarily know what is the best way to take somebody on a journey from the beginning in chapter one all the way down to the last chapter and leaving them with something to think about, or even having them come back if it's a type of book that's what you want to be writing about.
Yeah. And when you have the architecture and the blueprint, you can work on chapter 5 first, if that's the one. Matter of fact, I say, which would be the easiest chapter to knock out? Let's do that. What's the second easiest? Do that. And get momentum going. Momentum's important when you're writing a book. And when you get in a flow, um, I don't believe in, by the way, what is it? Writer's block. I don't believe in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just you're not writing on the right. You're not writing the right chapter then. Uh, it the Zen proverb about the grass doesn't struggle to grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
It should not be a struggle to write the book. It should be about something that lights you up, and um, but you do need that feedback from someone who knows and is qualified to tell you this is working, this part isn't working.
Yes, yes. I actually didn't realize how many different types of editors there were until I came to writing my book and until it started to get to that phase, which is, like you said, this developmental editor is pre, completion, and then all of the different types of editors that come after the completed manuscript.
Yeah, you have line editors, you have Chicago Manual of Style editors to make sure you're following proper book style. We have two or three editors when we publish a book. Other than me, if I was involved in the book, then I'm tainted.
Yeah.
I need to have other people come in, and then and I'm sure you had the experience, and I have, when they point something out, you go, oh yeah, yeah, I see it. But I looked at it so many other times I didn't see it until somebody pointed it out.
What are the I should say, who are the easiest type of writers to work with, and are a majority of the people that you bring on board first time authors? Because when I first wrote my book, I almost wrote it out in my mind for about a year. I mean, I made notes here and there, but then after a year, I sat down and I banged it out in 3 months.
Right.
And I dedicated Saturdays and Sundays to writing. I was strict about that.
Yeah. That's one of the strategies. Sometimes I tell people, Friday mornings,
Yeah,
try out Friday morning, or if you're a night person, one evening. I'm not a night person. I get up at
same.
5 a.m. So I'm more creative. I try to get all my creative things done before the meetings start. Yeah, but that's the way to do it. It's to have a plan and then attack the plan.
Do you what was the wait, was there ever a writer that you came across or came across your table where they obviously were a great writer, but they did it in a way that you had never seen before?
Mm. Uh,
Or is it typically similar across the board?
Typically, it's like one of three things. One is it's like a 10-chapter process book about their proprietary process, their way of handling a problem. Uh, Two, it's about 20 essays on a topic, but they're interesting aspects of it or something they see other people don't see. And then the other way is a fable or a story, like the 1 Minute Manager or Who Moved My
Yes.
Cheese or the Go Giver, excuse me, where it's a little story, not a great work of literature, but it's a little story that helps us remember the process.
I love that. The Who Moved My Cheese, I think, has been a staple in everybody's life. And I think every household probably has that book.
Well, let me tell the story. So, and I've done some ghostwriting for Ken Blanchard, who wrote the 1 Minute Manager, and
I love
I've
that.
I've covered him and written about him in publications, Forbes, and what have you. Um, so I had a book coming out and had a book launch party, and um, Ken Blanchard's agent came, and as her plus one brought Spencer Johnson,
Okay.
who wrote Who Moved My Cheese. And I knew that I'd heard that book sold 12 million copies. And I said, Spencer, it's such an honor to meet you. Between the two of us, we have sold 12 million books. And he said, well, actually, Henry, between the two of us, we've sold 25 million books. He was the co author with Blanchard on the 1 Minute Manager.
Oh, wow.
So he had probably the two most successful nonfiction books uh, in the history of publishing.
What a story. What a story. Let's dive in a little bit and really simplify, who needs a book and who doesn't. So,
Okay.
agency owners, consultants, founders, CMOs, prior to us getting on, you pulled up the book that you wrote about, the behind you, if those of you that are watching, the marketing book for agencies. But let's talk a little bit about that and taking a little bit of a switch, because I know your ghostwriting has been across a variety of different topics and
Yeah.
industries, but this one in specific as it relates to marketing. Tell me a little bit more about, how this idea and this concept of this book was born.
Well, I had done some research on, um, after I've done 100 books, and like about 25 of the books were by technology executives, and another 25 were on financial wealth managers, and 25 were from marketing experts. And I said, who would I want to spend time with? It's like, not really the technology people, you know, not really the financial people, but these marketing people. I already spend time with them. I already go speak at their conferences. They invite me on vacation with them. I said, this group. So then I said, well, what is their biggest problem? And I did research and found out that 2 out of 3 worried that they didn't have enough right fit prospects in their pipeline. And then 50% worried that they don't have enough time for business development. They're so busy doing it for the clients. And I said, a book, and then leveraging the book, what I call the typing and talking solution, is what can fill their dry pipelines with right fit prospects. And people will actually call them and seek them out. People will happily book them on stage. People will write about them if they do not a not a crummy self-published cheap and cheerful book, I like to say the world does not need another crappy self-published book.
No,
But
and especially one that's been written by AI.
oh, AI is like your drunken uncle. Sometimes says some good things, but other times it's hallucinating.
I love that you
Be
said
careful.
that.
So yeah, we use it for research too. But uh, yeah, the people, yeah, people say, "Oh, aren't you going to be put out of business with AI?" And I kind of laughed. I said, "No, I mean it's made us more valuable. We're at the high end of this. AI is not producing international best-selling books. I can tell you that." So
No.
in that, but back to the agency people, I felt their pain. I was an agency owner. I had been a marketing consultant, and I know that feeling that you're waiting for the phone to ring. It says, no, you don't wait for the phone to ring. You have a proactive system, and you're talking about your upcoming book. You're talking about your current book. You're talking about your next book. Um, that attracts people.
Yeah. I think it totally does. And I think it becomes the like how when I jumped on here and I started to talk to you about that, it's a peak of interest, right?
Right.
Yeah. Who should absolutely not write a book? I mean, other than what we said, a really
Oh,
bad
well, I'll
written
give you
romance
one.
novel or
Yeah, I've helped a lot of these people. A CEO should not write a book.
why?
A managing director of a law firm should not write a book.
But why a
Well, it's
CEO? I'm curious about that. I mean, wouldn't it
because
be interesting to hear from the CEO
it's
of, I don't
interesting to
know.
hear from them, but it's malpractice if they spent all that time writing a book.
Oh, that's true.
So I had this one CEO, and we'll call him Buck because his name was Buck, and Buck said, "Henry, I love this writing, but I feel guilty because my name's on it, and you've done all the work." I said, "Well, I didn't do
Yeah.
all the work. I interviewed you." He said, "Yeah, but you did all the heavy lifting on this." And Buck was a home builder, and I said, "Buck, let me ask you a question. How many homes are you going to build this year?" He says, "Oh, I'm going to build 1,000 homes this year." I said, "Interesting. Aren't your arms going to get tired with all that hammering and painting?" He says, "Well, don't be silly. You know that I'm going to cause 1,000 homes to be built." I said, "Like you're going to cause this book to be written. You have people and tools. I'm your tool, Buck. I'm your tool to get this book out there." So that's why I say, if you look at like Bill Gates wrote the book with somebody. When I was 25, one of my accounts was the San Diego Padres, and it was owned by the founder of McDonald's, Ray Kroc.
Hmm.
And Ray Kroc did not have 6 hours to spend with me to teach me the culture of the organization, but he handed me a copy of his book, Grinding It Out. I read that and I got it. Also, Ray Kroc did not write that book. It was with somebody.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my Warren Buffett book, um, I'm listed as the co-author. Um, it was really I wrote that book mostly because the head of that company didn't have time to sit down and write the book. McGraw Hill was chasing him to do a book, and he said, "I don't have a time. I don't have the time."
Time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I say that if that's what it is, no, get somebody. That
Yeah.
lawyer who charges $1,000 an hour, it would be a lot better to get somebody who's paid a lot less an hour to write the book. So those are the people who shouldn't write a book.
Is there a stage of business sweet spot to get a book out?
Um, I've seen it successfully done at all stages. It's a startup can do a book. The challenge with a startup is you're talking about your theory of what's going to work, your manifesto and what you believe and all that. That was in Jerry Maguire, right? That movie, and he writes the manifesto first before the company starts. But once you've gotten some traction, say in the first 5 years, now you have, and I don't call them case studies, but you have stories you can tell of people you've taken from mess to success, from problem to solution, to illustrate the book. That has a lot of credibility. Um, when you've been in that next stage where it's 10 years, I really think 5 and 10 years are significant marks. 5, people are saying, okay, this business is going to make it. 10, it's legit. If your business can be making it after 10 years, you've figured something out. You have figured out a niche. You have figured out a problem that they have, a hair on fire problem they have, and you know how to put the hair on fire problem out.
Yeah, no, I love that. And then what mindset makes someone successful with book writing? I mean, we brushed on this a little bit, but have you ever had to turn somebody away?
Oh, yes. And um, I probably accept 1 in 4.
Hmm.
So when somebody comes in and they're all about their idea is going to be a million seller, I know we don't have a fit because there are a few million seller books, and it's not really about making the money with the book sales and the royalties. Most Hardly any of my authors out of 200 um, made more than what it cost them to do the book in royalties. I know it happens, but so does winning the lottery. But buying lottery tickets is not a good retirement plan.
No.
So a good book plan is not counting on the royalties from the book. You make the money. What happens as a result of the book? That's why I say publishing the book is the starting line for the race, not the finish line. It's what kind of consulting are you going to do? What kind of training are you going to do? What kind of paid speaking are you going to do? Um, that happens as a result of the book. And that's where the revenue comes, but it's also the impact and influence. Revenue is just a measure in our society of impact and influence. It's a sign of appreciation. If somebody wants to pay me $5,000 to $10,000 to come speak, they appreciate what I have to say and share and help their people with. Um, that's the same for all authors.
So it's almost, as we say in marketing, that's a direct acquisition cost towards the book is, getting on stage, acquiring new clients, so on and so forth, and not just necessarily thinking about, the actual purchasing cost of the book and how many people have bought it, but what actually folds from the book and how your life improves slash business improving.
I have many people who are on writing that I've made them an extra $1 million with their book. And one, a sales consultant, um, he said, I never cared if I sold a single book that you wrote for me. I give them away
Yeah.
to CEOs. I give these books generously. And that is how I made an extra $1 million off this book, is being hired for a consulting project, to give a keynote speech, to give a workshop, to do a monthly training program, because we have the author of the book.
Yeah, that's incredible. Have it more so than not, your clients have pretty much made back, if not tenfold, just from the secondary layer of income from the book.
We measure 4 to 20%.
That's
And I
amazing.
think a good average is 10. But that's like, let's say you put let's say you put 20,000 into the book, all told.
Yes.
Um, so you should get 80 to 200,000 back over the course of say 3 to 5 years. If you do the minimum daily requirements, what are those? It's actually minimum monthly requirements. Um, Speaking twice a month to a target rich audience, the niche that you were after in that book, where it's a podcast or on stage and you're in front of them. And then you're giving them how to advice on how to solve their problems. Number two, you send a minimum of 20 copies of the book out a month. You do not wait to be discovered. You get the book out there. May I tell a short story on that?
Yes, please.
The year's 2015. The place is Memphis, Tennessee. A woman by the name of Penny Reed is at her kitchen table. She's in a 800 square foot apartment, and she's got a stack of bills that she has no idea how she's going to pay them. It was a far cry from the 4,000 square foot home she used to live in with her ex husband, who was also her ex employer, who gave her all her client work. Penny's a special woman. I hope you meet her one day. Penny said, well, if you're going to dream, dream big. In 2 years, I'm going to make $200,000 a year as an author and a speaker. That's when we met. And I said, Penny, what do you know how to do better than anybody else in the world? She goes, oh, I got this. I know how to grow a dental business. I said, dental business? She goes, let me tell you, dentists are screwed up people.
Mm,
Dentists borrow money to go to college. Then they borrow money to go to grad school. Then they borrow money to open a practice. And they tell people they own a business. They don't own a business. The business owns them. And they're going to
yeah.
work their whole career to pay off that indentured servitude. But I know how to give them cash flow and time to enjoy life. I said, bingo, we have a book. And Penny said, oh, okay. So is the plan we're going to write this book and then I'm going to speak and then people will hire me? I said, no, that's not the plan. And she says, what's the plan? I said, the plan is you're going to start making a phone call a day. She says, who am I going to call? I said, you're going to call people who book speakers to talk to dentists and dentists who might hire a marketing consultant. She goes, oh, I'm going to run out of people to call in a week. I said, no, you're not. There's a million of them and they're multiplying like rabbits. Um, she says, what am I going to talk to them about? You're going to talk to them about your upcoming book that you're researching and writing. And, would they like a speaker on that topic? She goes, oh, what's the sexy, provocative name for my book going to be? I said, oh, I have that. Are you ready? Growing your dental business.
Yeah.
It's what they want. It's what you know how to do. I'll fast
Keep
forward
it
2 years
simple.
later.
Keep it simple.
Clarity over cleverness.
Oh,
And
yeah.
for 2 years, she was making $200,000 a year. She gave me permission to tell that story with 2 caveats. One, don't make her ex-husband the villain of the story. He's not. They just didn't want to be married anymore.
Yeah.
And then 2, tell people it's now up to $280,000 a year. So that's
Wow,
the
I love
power
that.
of all this and what it can be.
It's so true. Clarity over cleverness, you said?
Yep. Clarity over cleverness.
And it's the same as it relates to your headline, your main splash headline across your website. Because what I like to tell my clients is if you sell bikes, tell people you sell bikes, not the wind that blows through their hair when they're riding the bike, right? Then you've overcomplicated things and you completely lost them. And they're like, I don't even know what these people do. So it's so true. Clarity over cleverness, 100%, because
Yeah.
you have that mere couple of seconds to just grab somebody's attention.
My splash headline on my website is about ghostwriting. And the first thing I talk about on my LinkedIn profile is ghostwriting. And it's always books because that lizard brain that we all have, I want people who go like, me want book, me want ghostwriter. It's
Yeah.
okay. Who's this guy? And talk to him.
Yeah.
Uh, Other than, my unique philosophy for capturing this.
Yeah. I want to dive a little deeper because we talked a little bit about, getting started, right? But you say
Yeah.
that there's only three ways to write a book. And I want to dig into things like, and further dig in deeper in this particular part of the conversation. But what mistakes do people make when choosing the book topic? How do you avoid writing the wrong book, or how do you reverse engineer a book from the clients you want? Because you're ghostwriting. There's the interviewing process and all of that. But I guess walk us through that process, because it is different to download from somebody than somebody downloading and handing it to you.
Sasha, would it be okay if I gave all your listeners $365?
Yes.
Okay. So every month I teach a course called the Book Kickoff course. It's $365. Anybody who emails me and mentions your name, I will scholarship them into the class. It's two
I love
hours.
that.
I do a handful of authors and I have them answer the 7 questions you have to answer before you write a book or before you promote a book. Question number 1: exactly who is this book for? Precisely who is it for? You have to know the reader. I even ask people like, have you interviewed 9 of these people yet and heard exactly how they describe the problem and talk about it? Okay. 2 is the problem. I believe every nonfiction book has to solve a problem. Oh, and my book solves so many problems. No, which one is the main problem you solve? Know that. And then the next thing you got to do, this third thing, is the information question. When you're talking to somebody and they ask you about your book, you should have a sentence that my book has more uh, blank on the subject. So my book has more new information on the subject. When AI came out, there's all these AI books because that was new. 10 years ago, uh, when the psychology of how the brain works and all that, that was new. Okay, my book has more information on the subject, just more. It's thick. It's like it's like this 1,000-page book, textbook. My book has better information on the subject. That means you've analyzed and you've gone through all the best practices and you've narrowed them down and you've done your analysis of what's best. And finally, my book has different information on the subject. That means you're a contrarian. Everybody says zig. You tell them, no, zag, and here's why you need to zag. You used to zig, but if you're zigging now, you're out of it. You got to zag. And you need to be able to defend that position. Those are the three things you need to write the book, and you're off to the races.
So simple.
Clear, I hope.
Yeah. So would you say writing a business book is a team sport?
I absolutely do. So there's three ways to get the book written. So one I don't recommend is that misery approach where you lock yourself in the cabin, or in my case, the waterfront resort.
The luxury resort.
Yeah, and don't come out until the book's done. The other way, so that's rugged individualism. Don't do that.
Yeah.
The other way is you're just going to power through it. You're going to get that done, and you're going to dedicate so many hours every week, and you will produce the book. Or developmental editor, and that's the teamwork you can get somebody who you're accountable to, somebody who will bring ideas on what the marketplace is looking for in a book, will give you honest feedback. Sasha, I got a phone call, and it was from a executive in the Silicon Valley, and he found 5 of my authors, and he had interviewed 5 of my authors, and then he called me and I said, I've interviewed 5 of your authors, and I'm going to hire you to write my book. I said, well, that's great. What did they say? Well, he said, they all said the same thing. I said, well, now I'm curious. What did they say? He said, they all said you were honest. Yeah. And I'm all proud. I'm thinking, oh, man, that's the reputation of the marketplace, honest. And then he added, yeah, one said he told you his idea for the book, and you said, well, nobody's going to buy that book. And I said, yeah, brutal honesty. I'm working on the brutal part, but I'm never going to just say, great, everything's great. That's what a lot of book coaches do. Great, just keep going. Oh, it's wonderful, it's great. Thinking that all you need is positive feedback. You need feedback on what's working and what's not working.
What's not. Yeah.
Both. If you just do one, nobody wants to hear that person.
Totally.
Yeah, it has to be both.
So you say that there are 8 stories the human brain is wired for. What are they, and why does it matter in business writing?
Oh, it matters greatly. And psychologists have produced this for us, and there have been works on it. But here they are quickly. There's the overcoming the monster story. And
overcoming the monster story.
Yeah, there's a monster problem, and a monster is going to kill you. So Dracula, Jaws, all these in fiction are the monster problem stories. There's the David versus Goliath underdog type story. The little person versus the big person, or versus society, or something big. I've ruined movies for my family, by the way. When the blonde cheerleaders come in and say, oh, no, this is not over, we'll see you at National. They go, oh, underdog story, blonde cheerleaders win in third act, So
yeah. I mean, there's plots to everything, right?
Sure. And there's the comic solution, a wacky idea to solve a problem. There's a cautionary tale about a tragic solution that you try to solve the problem, but it doesn't work. I analyze the 100 greatest business books of all time. They follow these same 8 patterns. Whenever I write for the California Business Journal, the first question when I'm interviewing a CEO, I'm going like, what story are they really telling here? Oh, is this a monster problem story? Are they an underdog? Or are they the 5th one, a mystery? They've solved a mystery. They've cracked the code. It's a riddle. The next one is a quest. It's a journey, the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Anything like a how-to book, like my Warren Buffett book, How to Close a Deal Like Warren Buffett. That's a quest we're on.
Yeah.
We want to have that prize. There's the comeback story. It's a redemption, it's a rebirth. And then there is the escape. I call it the escape from crazy town story. You're in a normal place, you get off track, you get back to normal. In literature, you would know it as Alice in Wonderland or Dorothy Gale from Kansas, ma'am, in The Wizard of Oz. So it's the same thing, and we're hardwired for these stories. Uh, the psychiatrist Carl Jung said that we need to hear these stories. I tell that to a
Mm.
lot of authors who I just published a book by Jolinda Wade, and she is the mother of basketball superstar Dwayne Wade. And she had a rough life, came back and became a pastor. She's a pastor now, helping other people's lives. Definitely a comeback story. And I told her, I said, people not only want to read this story, they need to read these stories. They need to hear these stories because it tells them that they can overcome life's problems. And usually, like, well, if she was able to get past that background and get to this place, um, she didn't see her son play basketball until he was in college
Hmm.
because of problems with
She
drugs
was
and
having, yeah.
other things. Yeah, and being in and out of institutions, and
Wow.
so we need these stories, and that's why those 8 stories work. It should be the overarching story of the book. My book, Rainmaker Confidential, I wrote this during the pandemic. I
Mm-hmm.
interviewed successful business development people that were making it work during the pandemic. That's a mystery.
Yeah.
So, a mystery story. And then within your book, individual stories you tell can be any of the 8. But give people a clue. Tell them this is an underdog story, or this is a comeback story, or here's a mystery that a riddle that was solved.
Yeah.
Because we've got places in our brain for all those, and can follow it better.
Yeah. I like it. This has been so insightful, Henry. I really appreciate all the details and you walking us through, really if somebody listening who felt stuck about potentially writing a book definitely should walk away from this podcast feeling unstuck or at least knowing where to start and who to call. But
And come to my class and tell them
and
Sasha
come to
sent
the
you.
class. Yes,
Yeah.
you'll send me the links and I'll list all the details below. But before I let you go, we like to do a closing tradition here where we ask, one myth, one habit, one word. So whatever comes to mind, it's our rapid fire ending. Just feel free to say it. One myth about writing a business book.
The myth that the good work myth that if you do good work, business will come your way, like Zeus is sending you clients. No, the Lord helps those who help themselves.
So there are so many correlations between marketing and writing a book because it's also when you launch your company the floodgates don't open. Now is the where the work happens, right?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
the tools, so to say, as you said. One habit that makes someone a rainmaker.
3 seeds a day. Plant 3 seeds a day, either by phone, email, and it's really about your mental game that you're reaching out to people. And it's not a sales call; it's a relationship building call because the secret of business development is relationships.
Yes, I completely agree. And really, that's translating more so into marketing right now versus spending an ad on Facebook and Instagram. It's just really tapping into communities, relational building, referral marketing. It's just the contact to develop that trust. One word that defines great marketing.
Generosity. My
Mm.
brand is generosity. And the more generous I am in helping people and giving valuable information away, the luckier I get in business.
Yeah, being of service to others. I like it.
Relentlessly helpful.
Yes, yes. Henry, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. We really appreciate your time.
Sasha, thank you so much. It was an honor to be here.